Dang it. So this is going to be my last tutorial, at least for the foreseeable future. I really want to focus on making short form content, and I also have something else in the pipeline that I'm going to launch as well. So there will be an announcement on that on my social media. So feel free to follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram if you want an update on that. But as a quick reminder, I do have a mastermind program where I help people switch careers into software development without having to get a CS degree or go to a boot camp. So if someone who has been coding for a while, not sure what that next step looks like for you, and you're ready to just start applying for jobs, go ahead and apply to my mentorship in the description below. There will be an application there. Once you fill it out, I will contact you and we'll see if we're a good fit to work with each other. But I won't hold you to the tutorial, so let's jump right in.
Alright, so in this tutorial, we're going to build this country's database app here. Basically has a table with a picture of the country's flag, the name of the country, capital, population, map, and whether or not if it's independent. And then in the map here, this column here, we have these links where you could actually view the map of the country on Google Maps. Each country has their own link here. And then we can also search for a country, and we should be able to get some results here. So I would type in United, any result here with United in it or has United in its context will display. And you can see that, for example, the United States, I can click on the map of the United States and you'll see the United States right here. So pretty cool stuff. And as you can see, there's also pagination here. So there's going to be 10 results per page. And we can click through each result all the way to all 250 countries. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and build this thing. So first, we're going to open an empty folder, and I already have that set up. And then we're going to run the command npx create React app. And then whatever you want to name it. So I'm just going to say countries app. And make sure you have npm installed before you even start this, or this command won't work. That we have our React packages installed. Let's go ahead and cd into our new app. So remember, we called it countries app. So let's go into that directory and then let's run that command npm start. So just follow the instructions right here. And then we'll have our live server running for our development. And yours is going to be on 3000. Mine's going to be on 3001 since I have the original app already running on port 3000. And then once we go to localhost 3001 for me and 3000 for you, we'll be able to see our default React app created. All right, so now let's go into our source folder in our app CSS and delete all the contents. We don't need these. We don't need these in our app. We're going to create a white screen here. So go in the app CSS and delete everything. Go to app.js and delete everything within the div, and then go ahead and remove the unused import. And let's save everything, and we'll have a white screen. So we have a blank slate here. Let's go ahead and start creating our logic for our app component. So I'm going to create my state first for the countries. This is going to hold all the countries' data. And I'm going to use the useState hook. So make sure to use the useState hook from React library. So you want to import from React. And remember that the useState hook takes in an array of 2 arguments. The first one is the variable. The second one is the function to change the state of the variable. Next, we're going to do the number of pages for our pagination. by default, the use state is going to be 0. And then we're going to do, we're going to have a state for the current page. So whatever page we're currently on. So that initial state is actually going to be 1 because whenever we first open the page or first visit the website, we want to be on the first page. So that's why that's going to be 1. And then I'm going to use this later, but for our search functionality, I have my search input, and it's just going to be an empty string because whenever I first visit the page, that input field is not going to have any values. We didn't do any search. So empty string on the initial state. And then, like I said before in the demo, I'm going to create this variable right now. We're going to have 10 results per page. So I'm going to do items per page, and that's going to be 10. That's going to be used for our calculation to determine how many elements in the pagination. All right, so let's go ahead and create our JSX elements here. So I'm just going to have an H3 header countries database. And then I'm going to go ahead and put our pagination in its own div container as well. And we're going to go ahead and install another library. So you guys probably notice here, I have this material UI library that I'm going to use the pagination component. So let's run this command npm install at MUI/material. So let's open a new terminal. Make sure to go inside your country's app directory and then run that command. All right, now that we have the MUI material library installed and we can verify that in our package JSON, which we have it, let's go ahead and import the pagination component. So if you want to read the docs, there's the components, and then it should be a pagination. Maybe the component API. Component API is pagination. The pagination, and basically want to import it. So let's just copy this, and then we'll have access to it. All right, and let's add it as a JSX element down here. All right, and then the pagination component has several properties. So I want to make the size large. The count is going to be num pages, which will create that. For right now, it's 0. And then the page is going to be the current page. And then we'll put a color on it. So we give it a color primary. Let's save that. We should have that in our component. Motion. Oh, so we're getting this error that cannot resolve emotion react. So let's go ahead and install all the emotion react and emotion style. I'm just going to rerun this entire command. So that way the motion react and motion styled is also installed, and then we should get rid of those errors. All right, since we installed a bunch of other dependencies and libraries, let's just rerun the app and let's just restart it. so we can rerun the development server with the updated packages that we installed. All right, so now we have our countries database, and our pagination here has started to appear in our UI. All right, so let's go ahead and start getting our data in. So let's use the useEffect hook to initialize our components. So I'm going to create this function called fetch data, which will do my HTTP call. It's going to be an async function. And I'm going to put my HTTP call in a try catch block so I can catch any errors. And I'm going to log it in the console. I'm just going to say error is whatever the error we get. And then let's go ahead and install the React library. So npm install Axios. And we'll use Axios to do our HTTP calls. So I'm going to do npm install Axios, and then we'll have access to that library. And then let's import Axios from Axios. All right, now we can go ahead and do an HTTP call with Axios. So we're going to do a get call to the country's endpoint. So if you go to the documentation, we're going to use this this endpoint here, rest countries v3/all. And then we're going to do, we're going to do our pagination calculations here. So we're going to do the response.data.length, how many results we're getting. And then we're going to do const number of pages. And then we're going to calculate how many pages we need. Okay, so let's create that function, calculate pages. So we're going to do math.seal. So that way we round to the smallest number. We don't have any decimal point numbers. In this case, they'll be even because there's currently 250 countries, and we have 250 divided by 10, which will be 25 pagination components. But just in case they add another country, we'll just do total items divided by the items per page. So 250 divided by 10. And just so you guys can see where I get 250 from, it's just from the response.data.length. Let me show y'all what that looks like. So it should be 250 in the console. And let me import the useEffect hook from React. Don't forget to import from React. And now we should get let's call the fetch data function. Now we get the 250. So there's 250 results from the API. So we confirmed that our API is working. So let's get rid of this console log. And let's continue to do our calculations. So we can do we want to set our number of pages to be the number of pages. All right, so we should have 25. We have 25 here. We're on the first page. Okay, so now we're gonna filter out our results. So we're gonna basically slice the array. So we're gonna slice this countries array here. So let's do our start index. So it's gonna be current page minus 1 times items per page. So the reason why I want to do minus 1 is because remember that indexes start at 0. So if we're on the first page, we're going to be on the 0 index. And then we're going to do our n index that we're going to use to slice the countries array. So we're going to do math.min start index plus items per page and total items. And then countries for page here. This is where we're going to do the slicing. So we're going to slice from our start index to our end index. And then we're going to set the countries array to countries for page. Okay, so the reason why we do math.min is so when we go to the next page, we go to the minimum items per page. Because we don't want to go to the next page and all of a sudden we have like 20 results. Or all of a sudden we're on the fourth page. So this controls like this controls like the filter. So when we slice through the data, we stay on 10 countries per page. And now that we slice through the data, we only have 10 countries per page. And then let's put a dependency array also here. For now, it'll be empty. Let's add an onChange property to our pagination. And it's going to be handle page change. And let's create that function. So that handle page change is just going to, whenever we click the arrow, it's just going to allow us to go to the next page. And it's going to take in 2 arguments. We have to put in an event and then the value. And then the set current page, this is whatever value. So we have to pass in an event because it's going to be a user input change. So let's go ahead and create our table now. So I'm going to create a country table. And we're going to create this on our own. So we're going to have our source. Let's create a folder for our components. And then inside this components folder, let's create our country table. Let's export it so we can use it outside of this file. And let's import it in our app.js component. I'm just going to import it. You'll see here it's been imported. All right, so let's add logic to our countries table. So I'm actually going to pass in a prop called countries. This is going to hold our data to display on the table. Let's create our table first. We're just going to use regular HTML here. And let's create our head of our table first. And that's going to have our labels for each column. So the first one is going to be the flag. And I'm going to have a total of 6 rows or columns. So let's put 6 headers. I'm going to have my flag, the country, which will have the name of the country, the capital, the population, the map, and then that's whether or not it's independent. Put a question mark. It says it's either true or false, so we'll just put a question mark. All right, so that's our column headers, column headers, and then we'll do the body. And in that body is going to have our table data. And we'll create a variable for that right now. So it's going to be our table data. It's going to equal to these countries. And then we're going to put our table row up here actually. And then the first one's going to be an image of the flag. So we're going to put an image tag and the source. The source is going to be c.flags.png. And just in case some of them doesn't have a picture, we're gonna see if there's an image. If there's an image, we're gonna display it. If not, we're just gonna put this text. All right, and then the other one's just gonna be simple. All we're gonna do is just take in each country's properties. So we have our flag, our country, the capital. So c.capital. And some countries don't have capitals, like Antarctica, for example. So if they don't have any data there, just put non-applicable. Then our next one is going to be the population. And then the next one is our map. So inside this table data, we're actually going to put an anchor tag. And then the href, which is the source, is going to be c.maps.google Maps. And then we're going to give it a target property. So that way it opens in a new tab whenever we click on that map link. And then the text we're going to give it is view map. And then last but not least is our independent. So we wanted to display text. So in the API is actually going to give us a Boolean. So because it gives us a Boolean, it's going to give us a blank value of if it's false. So if it's actually false, I want to actually put the string false. Otherwise, put true. So that's what I'm doing right here. All right. Now that I have this countries prop, I can put it in the countries table and add it as its own. Add it as a prop here in the parent component. And then what I want to set the value to is actually going to be the countries. So this right here. So let me save that and we should start seeing data. All right, so our data is coming through. And I see there's a little issue with our page here. It's only showing one. Let me look at the code. Okay, so we have to return this number. And if we save it, we should now see, yeah, so now we see that one and then all the way to 25. So 10 results per page. We have 25 total pages. And let's test our view map functionality here. This should open in a new tab. And we see our Christmas Island on the map here on Google Maps. All right. So good so far. We just it doesn't look good yet, but we'll fix that in a second. But let's go ahead and start doing our search logic here. So let's create our search component. So inside of our components folder, let's just do search.js. Let's export it. All right, and let's import it in our app.js. I want to put it above my table, so let's put it above the table. All right, so my search is now imported. Let's go inside of it. And then let's create our input field first. So we'll have a form with a button and an input and a text input field. And then we'll have our button elements. And the search text here. Let's actually give it a placeholder so we know, tell the user to search by country name. So they don't type anything else. All right, and then let's set our states for the search query. That's going to be an empty string. And then make sure we import it from React. So import useState from React. All right, and let's do a onChange here. OnChange event. So whenever we type something in the input field, the value on the input field changes. So let's pass in the user input, which will be the event. And we'll set the search query to the value that the user types in. All right, and then let's go ahead and put an on submit. So when we press enter, we can do the search on our form. We'll do handle submit. And then let's create that function. And then let's prevent the default. So this will prevent the user from refreshing the page when they press enter. So let's just comment that out and see what happens when we don't have that functionality. So you see when I press enter right now, page refreshes, but if I pass in the event and then prevent the default, that'll prevent that from happening. So let's press enter and nothing's happening. Nothing's happening when I press search. All right, and then we'll do search. So we're gonna have a prop here called search, which we'll bring into our app parent component, and then we'll pass in the search query. So whatever we typed in the set search query sets the state of the search query. We'll pass in the search query with the search, and then we'll pass in the search to our app.js. So let's add that prop to our search. And then let's create the logic for that. And we'll do a function called handle search. And we'll create the function handle search. And it's going to be an async function. We're going to change the state of our search input from what we bring in the search parameter. And let's make sure let's check if it's empty. We don't want any empty values. If it's empty, we'll just exit this function. If not, we'll do our search. So we'll do a try catch block so we can catch any errors in case our HTTP call fails. So again, we'll log it. All right, so let's do our search call here. So we're gonna have a response. And we're going to use Axios. Make sure to add the wait so it's async. So if you look at the countries API, we can do a search here. Should tell it there's information about it around here. Yeah, so we can do a search by name. So we can just use this endpoint here. And you see here, this is a input parameter. So we can use this search value that we passed in and put it inside the URL. So whatever we type, so this is coming from our search component. And remember, our search component has this prop that takes in the search query. Remember, the search query changes when we type, and we're bringing it in here. And whatever we type goes in this URL. And then let's handle that search result. So we're going to do search countries. And we're going to take our response. Take in that country results. And then we're going to display it in our table. So we have to grab all our table headers are our table columns here. I forgot the extra parentheses. So the flags, the name, the capital, population, the maps, and let me add, just in case there's no result, let's just add an empty string. And then the independent status. And then we're gonna change the state of the search country, of the countries to the search country. All right, and then let's create a use effect hook to listen for changes in our search component. So we're gonna, whenever the search happens, we're going to update our component, and then it's reliant on our search input. So the dependency array is going to have our search input. So whenever this changes, we'll basically re-render our handle search function, and then also our table is going to change as well. So let's add the search input here. So if we search something, our entire page is essentially going to change. So let's add that in the dependency array as well in our search input. All right, let's save that. We should have a fully functioning app. It doesn't look very good, but let's see what we got. Okay, so we got our search is working here. Type in the United States fully, and we got some results now. And if I clear and press enter, it goes back to the current page. All right, so everything looks to be working, but doesn't look very good right now. So let's go ahead and style everything. So we're going to use Bootstrap. So I'm just going to Google Bootstrap. Just read the docs here. So if you go to getbootstrap.com, and I usually like to do it this way. If you just copy this link tag here, and then go into our public folder in our index HTML, and we can just paste it in here. And make sure to put it inside the header, or the head tag, and now we have access to the Bootstrap library. So let's style our table first. We'll come down here. I'm going to use this class name for the table, and I'm going to put everything in a container in our div. So our table should look a lot better now. So our table looks a little better. And then let's do our search component. And these class names I'm copying directly from the Bootstrap website. So I'm gonna give the entire div this Bootstrap class, and I'm gonna do a separate div container for our search fields, and I'm gonna give our button one as well. So our search field is centered, and our looks a little better, but not quite where we want it to be. So I'm actually going to install the entire component with regular CSS. So the entire document body, I'm going to give it this background color with this hex code. And then the images, you see that the images on the fly are kind of big. So I'm going to actually change the size of the image. So if I go to the table, if I give the image its own class, I can then change the image sizes. So I'll split this right, and I'm going to grab this class here. And then I'm going to give it these max width and max height properties, 70 pixels by 50 pixels. And then it should be a little smaller now. Okay, so now my flag's smaller. It's not taking up a lot of room. And then in my app.js, I'm gonna kind of like realign everything with this app container. So I'm going to just center align it on my text. So my countries database is centered. And then I'm going to style my pagination container as well. So I'm going to give it its own class. I'm just going to give it a display of inline block and then a margin top of 20 pixels. That way it goes, my pagination is not to the left, it's to the middle. All right, so now everything is aligned here. My input field looks kind of weird, so I'm going to also change that as well. I'm just going to give it inline style. I'm just going to give it a width of 500 pixels. And also making my input field this Bootstrap class. This is a Bootstrap class. If you see like these MR, MB, form control, those are Bootstrap classes. So I'm just going to add that. So now I have that blue highlight field just like in the original app. All right, so everything looks like our original app now. We have a responsive table. We have 10 results per page. We're able to click into each country's map. And then we can search for a country. All right, so that is our countries app. Thank you guys for watching, and good luck on your coding journey, and I'll see y'all later.